Hello and welcome back to the Kendal Mountain YouTube channel for what is serving as part 2 of the Leo Houlding Roriama expedition. This video is also serving as a little bit of a teaser for the video that is actually joining our player tomorrow, so make sure to check back tomorrow for our Friday trailer where we'll be revealing our latest new addition. Enjoy!
So, can you talk us through a bit of your background? You know, you've spent some time in the jungle, it's fair to say.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in forests and jungles over the years, and actually a lot of trips to Guyana, to this kind of region. And it's an incredible, beautiful place. There's so much endemism there. Just the life that you find the epiphytes. I won't bang on about them too much because I did that during the expedition. But just an incredible array of wildlife and plants. Really beautiful, really untouched. And all these rivers that transect the rainforest. They're just incredible. You travel up and down the rivers, and it's a huge source of fish. So most of their diet is fish essentially, and that's how they sort of live and get a lot of their food, especially when you're on the move through the forest.
And can you talk a little bit about the way we travel? How do we cross rivers? And are these places regularly trod other than local people?
Not at all. It was like a jungle gym, quite literally. There's so many log crossings across the rivers and little vines, and sometimes you have to wade through it. And it was just like an incredible trail that we opened up. Just absolutely stunning and really, really untrodden. Like barely anyone's been there before. Yeah. And it was incredible to spend that amount of time with these locals, traveling through such a beautiful place and seeing how they live.
Got glimpses of this giant cliff above us. I mean, there's a saying about Roraima, and it's that no white man will ever see the summit, and that's because it's in the cloud like 300 plus days of the year. And thankfully we arrived at the end of the dry season. And this is the first view of the mountain, which is from the last little community. It's called Wailang, about 10 kilometers outside of Philippi. There's this tiny little clearing. That's why you can see it, because they've chopped some trees down to make some fields, so you get this view. And then from there, the path ran out about, I don't know, a day later, didn't it? And even the locals, occasionally they'll go in deep on hunting missions, but they never went there either, did they? No. Only one of our crew had ever been that far in before, and it's like a 4-day, 5-day walk from where they were. And you can see it's the real deal. It's like full-scale jungle, really hard, difficult going. I say it was 50 Ks as the crows flies. We GPS tracked it, because we're going to go back, right? Yeah. And it was exactly 100 kilometers, because obviously you're not going in a straight line, you're winding round trees and through ridges. But to be clear, we got a crew of locals to set off like a week before us, because it takes time to cut a path through this kind of stuff. And a lot of those log crossings that you saw were like these, it was like a jungle gym that they built with these funny little balance beams and stuff. Do you remember those ones with the... Yeah, they were fairly treacherous. The lever.
You use the stick and throw it back.
They're quite high from them as well. You're about 10-15 feet above the water at some point on a bossy log that's at a funny angle.
And the consequences would be... Well, in a sec we're going to watch a quick extract from the jungle itself.
Pick it up.
Can you? Will it bite me?
Don't pick it up. That's enough. Fish soup with extra chilli.
Got some water.
I'm going to grab mine in a sec.
This is the worst part of the day because right now I am comfortable and warm and dry in my hammock. And in a moment I'm going to have to get up and put my wet clothes on and these boots. Cassava juice, mildly alcoholic. Tastes a bit like ale. I've just necked a litre of water as well.
So the terrain's a bit interesting near the top, and there's a lot of holes, and I've fallen into basically all of them. Yeah, this is the result.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
I know.
Oh, you poor thing.
It's fine.
Look at that one.
Look at that, that's the best one.
So, Anna, I suppose it's worth
Yes,
talking
Matt.
about how you found the jungle. What would it be in your first time? Was it what you'd never been further than Spain?
Germany.
Germany.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's further away than Spain, I don't know.
So, how do you find being dropped into the middle of the jungle?
Yeah, I mean, I was obviously dropped in at the deep end, you could say, but I think it's important to say I really enjoyed the jungle, particularly for the first week before it started raining. When I told people that I was going there initially, most of them were kind of like, oh God, you know, the jungle, it's terrifying, there's loads of spiders and scorpions and snakes, and it's really hot, and you're always covered in mud, and it's awful, which is kind of true. But also, there's some incredible wildlife in there that, you know, things, plants and animals that the likes of which you would never see anywhere else in the whole world. Like, there was one morning I woke up and there was this little buzzing sound outside my hammock, and opened it up. There was a little hummingbird that had just come in there and was hovering around. And yeah, stuff like that you feel actually really privileged to experience. So yeah, I really enjoyed the jungle. I thought it was a fantastic place.
Yeah. And what about the wildlife in terms of playing with spiders on sticks while everybody else is shying away?
You were getting after it. It's like...
Yeah, well, we had one night where we had this massive, I think it was it Goliath bird-eating spider? Was that what it was, Waldo?
Yeah.
Yeah, that came into our camp, and I thought it was pretty cool. I've never been particularly scared of spiders, but there were a few people among the team that were a bit jumpy about it.
Well, it was the line, if they bite you, you start vomiting blood, that put me
No,
off.
that was
the
the
other
monkey
one. That was the monkey
spider.
spider.
Sorry.
Yeah, they
Right.
were slightly less scary looking.
And they didn't tell us that till after we'd been messing with it.
No, this wasn't your leg, was it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's quite a variety of things that could do you a fair bit of harm.
Yeah.
But if you're careful enough, I mean, it's not too bad.
Yeah. And we were well looked after, right? I mean, you know.
That
these
guy's name
guys-
was Leo as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. And he was kind of their leader in a way, so yeah, it was cool. I
Having
mean,
those guys around is essential though, isn't it? They're just so much more in tune with the forest, and they can spot things so much better than we can.
Yeah, like the amount of times we were walking down a path and then one of the guys would just see like a little frog or a stick insect or something that you'd never see just walking down like that, but they're so switched on to it that, yeah, it's quite incredible the things they notice.
they're so in tune with the place, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, can you talk us through what's happening here, Waldo?
Yeah, I mean, this was super cool actually. This was, we're about 5 days into it.
Yeah.
And these guys literally, they travel with just like a bar of soap and their machete, and that's kind of all they have, and they're always clean.
Cassava bread as well,
And
right?
cassava bread, yeah. And we stopped and made camp. We were always kind of making camp by rivers, so we could get the water and rig up our hammocks. And these guys just set to it one day, getting all these, it's a type of vine, a poison vine, and they cut it all down. And then they bash it up into these sinews on a log, and that sort of releases all the poison. And then they wash it in the rivers, so they just dunk it up and down, and you see that white sort of liquid, milky stuff come out and start floating down the river. And as it drifts down the river, they sort of flush all the fish out. So they go with sticks in their hands and they rummage around in all the banks and in the riverbed. So all the fish come out of their hiding places, and basically this stuff kind of paralyzes them. I think it shuts down their nervous system, and all these fish start just floating to the surface. And the neighbor basically, this guy Wyling was shooting them with his bow and arrow. He was a badass.
Which he made in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, in like 10 seconons came out.
Embarrassed myself not being able to fire.
Gave it a good go though, man.
They were looking
Just
at me
a bit
like I was
heavy-handed.
4 years old.
He was only 19 as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So he was really young. But...
And he just came along for the ride, right? He wasn't.
He wasn't contracted.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And then those guys, you know, you can follow that poison downstream as it drifts, and they just get a huge haul of fish, which they
Yeah, they got
spew
like
up.
200 of them, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then they smoked him. Not like smoked him, smoked him. like and they smoked fish.
Yeah,
And
they're
they
the
put them on
good
the fire. So and then they ate them for the next week, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is incredible. You've got to kind of wait until you eat them as well, because they can make your lips a bit numb if you eat them too soon because of the poison.
Just go back a bit. Like, so this guy, Edward, one more.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
That's not Edward. Yeah. Edward. So right at the start, when Waldo and I chatted about this expedition, because he's done loads of stuff in the jungle, I've done loads of stuff on big walls, and we've both done a bit of stuff in Guyana. I was like, man, you know, we're not going to be able to get there without the help of the locals. To start with, you're not really allowed. It's their land, so you need their permission. And also, you're just not going to.
No, you
find
imagine
it,
trying
you know,
to follow a GPS bearing.
Yeah. And even though we airdropped most of the stuff, we still had some stuff, the camera gear, food. We still needed about 10 guys because they can only carry 10 kilos each. And we all had pretty much the same loads as them.
Yeah.
And I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if instead of just them like guiding us to the base and then going off in a post-colonial fashion, wouldn't it be cool if we brought an extra couple of setups, and if anyone was up for it, they could join us to the top of the wall. Bearing in mind, Edward, this guy, he can see Roraima from his house.
Yeah.
And he's lived his whole life. He's 56, the most ripped 56-year-old you'd ever meet. And I know Waldo's like other job, he trains people in rope work, mainly for trees, but kind of rope access style stuff.
I almost shut you down on that idea. I was going, dude, we've already got a film crew and all of us.
And I was like, no, I've done this loads of times. Let's make it even more difficult by, I think we can do it. I think you can train someone how to Jumar, how to rappel, how to lower out, the concept. Bear in mind, they've never worn harnesses before. They'd never really seen carabiners before. And I thought, no, I think with your help and with the supervision, obviously you never leave them alone. There's always someone watching them. I reckon we can get them to come up the wall with us. And it would be like a really cool change of skills. We can't get to the base of the wall without them. And they can't get up without us. And anyway, most of the guys were not up for it at all. They weren't interested at all. Whether we told them right in the first meeting, and they were all like, no, screw that.
I don't think they believed us we were there to climb the mountain.
But that guy, Edward, who was a bit older than everybody else, and he was straight on it, wasn't he? Straight away, he was like, I want to come to the top, man. I want to see what I want to see what's on the top.
Well, he'd been to the base 3 times, hadn't he, on previous expeditions?
Yeah. So he had I think he understood that we knew how to make it safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed part 2 of Leo Houlding's Roriama expedition. Make sure to check back tomorrow, where you'll find out the feature film that's going to be joining our other 400 different films and collections as well on the Kendal Mountain player, and also to make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, where you'll be seeing plenty more content just like this, joining in the weeks coming up to the festival. Thank you.